Welcome to Deployment Fundamentals. This course is for virtual workers supporting a disaster operation while working from home or another remote location. The purpose of this course is to provide you with the information and tools necessary to successfully prepare for and deploy virtually to a disaster relief operation. This course will help you prepare for your virtual disaster assignment. Know what to expect before and during a virtual disaster relief assignment, and meet the challenges of virtual disaster relief operation work. Even when working virtually, you should still model the Red Cross values of being compassionate, collaborative, creative, credible, and committed by treating each other with care and respect. Embrace diversity and inclusiveness within our organization, our clients, and our partners. We will all need to be creative working with a largely virtual workforce and within the pandemic environment. If you can think of a better way to accomplish something, speak up. Act with integrity in everything you do and remain committed to the Red Cross mission. Finally, be a good steward of the donor dollar. We can accomplish so much more when we all model these values. There are benefits of a virtual assignment. It is ideal if you are not able to travel. You can still support the mission, and your skills and knowledge can be utilized to provide assistance for a disaster operation. You'll need to prepare for a virtual assignment just as you would for an in-person response. You will need to keep your availability current in Volunteer Connection. Clear your schedule as you would for any deployment. Talk with family and friends and help them to understand that while you are at home, you may not be available to participate in daily activities like childcare, meal preparation, social events, etc. Be prepared to work the required shift, which could be 10 to 12 hours per day. Other ways to be prepared for a virtual assignment include dedicating a workspace for yourself, assessing your technology needs. Do you have a computer, stable internet connection, and phone? And maybe having to request assistance in acquiring a cell phone, a Red Cross computer, or reimbursement to cover any data overage charges. And finally, review the Remote Work Resources for DCS Workers document located on the Exchange. Next, we are going to talk about what you will need to do on your Volunteer Connection profile. While many volunteers get involved when they hear about a disaster on the news, available American Red Cross disaster responders have to be ready before a disaster strikes. Volunteer Connection is the Red Cross system used to track the workforce and mobilize resources quickly and efficiently when a disaster occurs. Among other things, Volunteer Connection is where you will let the Red Cross know how to contact you for a disaster assignment and when you are available to respond. It is your responsibility to be prepared for disaster assignments by keeping your Volunteer Connection profile up to date and accurate. In the Personal Information section, check that your phone number, email address, and legal name are correct. Indicate any proficiency in languages other than English. The Qualifications section lists professional licenses and Red Cross specialty tracks. Check to be sure your positions are correct. You can be recruited for any positions listed. Work with your region's deployment team or disaster workforce engagement team if you have any questions or need to make changes. As we mentioned earlier, as a virtual worker, it will be important for you to have an internet connection, a working computer, and a smartphone or mobile phone. Many workers find that a set of headphones with a built-in microphone make web meetings or conference calls easier and less disruptive to the other members of your household or workspace. We would also like for you to have your webcam on during meetings. If you are lacking supplies or technology to complete your assigned duties, please work with your supervisor to find a solution. Working virtually is very different from working in person. Working long hours at a computer can be very hard physically and intellectually. You will try to manage your time effectively and take regular breaks. And it is okay to deliberately spend time to get to know your virtual team. It is important to understand who you are working with and how you will be working, because it will not be as obvious as in an in-person setting. You'll have to ask questions like, what are the time parameters for getting tasks done? What are my reporting expectations? And remember to get contacts of those to whom you report or with whom you must work. Virtual workers need to adjust their activities to the conditions created by virtual work. Remember to adjust for time zone, because your time zone and the DRO time zone may be different, requiring you to adjust times for meetings and report deadlines. Also be aware that getting answers via texts, phone calls, and emails takes more time than at in-person work sites. Even more important when working virtually is to have daily meetings scheduled to make decisions and share information. Your operation will utilize Microsoft Teams as a virtual watch floor to communicate throughout the day. Please be sure that you have Microsoft Teams on your computer and orient yourself to the use of this technology. There are helpful tools both on the Exchange and on other internet websites to teach you the ins and outs of Microsoft Teams. Be patient in the virtual environment with respect to your own learning and other people's level of computer skills. Workers can range from being novice users of technology to highly proficient. Don't assume everyone knows how to work everything on a computer, and particularly in Microsoft Teams. Digital methods for managing information access and virtual work continues to advance. We need to be prepared to learn new methods. Much work relies on dashboards, Power Apps, SharePoint, and Microsoft Teams meetings and the virtual watch floor. At the very least, make sure you are comfortable with the various platforms before you deploy. In some cases, there are online tutorials to help you. Now, let's get back to your assignment. You will be notified of your deployment via email. This will include the start date for your assignment, your position, name and contact information of your supervisor or lead, and instructions for in-processing on volunteer connection. You will also receive an email from your supervisor or lead with more details about your assignment. You will have access to the Incident Action Plan during your assignment. You will need to take the time to read it so that you know what is happening on the operation. It also contains contact information that you may need. Once you settle into your assignment, you will need to practice some self-care. Take care of yourself. You aren't expected to be at your computer 24/7. Speak to your supervisor about shift hours and expectations, and be sure to take breaks and time out for meals. And notify your supervisor if you become ill or your situation changes and you are unable to complete your assignment. If there is something you don't understand or something that's not working, seek guidance from your supervisor. If you have been assigned as a supervisor on the operation or become a supervisor during the duration of your assignment, be sure that all workers are provided with a job induction to clarify expectations for their assignment as well as any new requirements. Supervisors should lead by example by demonstrating respect in all interactions with workers and be open to feedback from their workers. Remember, we need to be creative in how we execute the mission. Recognize workers who have gone out of their way to be successful or grow in their role. And please, don't forget to recognize your virtual team for their accomplishments. Set a good example by taking time off and scheduling your workers' days off well in advance. Again, don't forget about your virtual workforce when scheduling days off. Be sure to include your virtual staff in meetings, decisions, and situational awareness as appropriate. Be mindful that it can be easy for virtual staff to feel disconnected or out of the loop. Virtual workers and supervisors need to work together to prevent that from happening. Include your virtual team in any recognition or fun events. You may need to get creative to help them feel included. And provide performance evaluations for assigned workers before they leave the disaster operation. There will come the time when you will be ending your assignment and will need to out-process. You may be asked to transition your assignments with the worker who is coming after you. A supervisor will complete a work performance evaluation for you and will discuss this evaluation with you. By staying in communication with your supervisor, you can help to ensure they are aware of your contribution on the DRO. You should also have a post-deployment conversation with your region to discuss what you gained from your assignment and what next steps you may want to take to prepare for future assignments. And finally, expect to experience some adjustments from your DRO schedule, shifting back to your personal schedule and commitments. Here are some tips for a successful and fulfilling assignment. Remain flexible regarding your assignment. Keep updated on the technology needs. Be aware of time zone differences and set reminders for meetings. It will take time to adjust, and always take time for yourself and communicate any personal needs to your supervisor. And this slide shows you some of the resources that you have available during your assignment. And finally, remember, there will always be a support team and your supervisor available to assist you as needed. Thank you for your valued work with the Red Cross. A copy of this presentation is available in the DCS Training Index. Feel free to view it when needed. You may now exit the course.